Yesterday, we revealed how Nancy Sherman vanished without a trace, and her husband Michael's story began falling apart. Today, we uncover the shocking evidence that exposed Michael Sherman as a cold-blooded killer who planned his wife's murder for months. This is the conclusion of Nancy Sherman's fight for justice.
The breakthrough came when our computer forensics team recovered Michael's deleted search history from his cloud backup files. What we found was absolutely chilling. Starting in February 2017, 2 months before Nancy's disappearance, Michael had been researching methods of murder and body disposal. Search terms included how to dissolve human remains with chemicals, rural burial sites in Ohio where bodies won't be found, do police check landfills for missing persons, and how long does DNA evidence last in soil? He had also researched fake death certificates, cremation costs without a body, and methods to transfer money without leaving a paper trail. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was calculated, premeditated murder.
But Michael's computer searches were just the beginning. Investigators discovered that on April 3rd, 2017, just one day before Nancy's disappearance, Michael had made several suspicious purchases. He bought industrial-strength drain cleaner, heavy-duty garbage bags, a large waterproof tarp, rubber gloves, and bleach from 3 different stores across town. Security cameras captured him paying cash for everything, clearly trying to avoid leaving a credit card trail. When investigators asked him about these purchases 6 years later, Michael claimed he was doing spring cleaning and home maintenance project, but receipts showed he had never bought these types of supplies before, and neighbors confirmed no maintenance work was ever done.
This is completely ridiculous, and I'm tired of defending myself against these outrageous accusations. Yes, I looked up some things online, but only because I was worried about Nancy's health and what might happen to our family if she didn't survive her cancer treatment. I researched cremation costs because I thought she might not make it through the Florida treatment. The supplies I bought were for household projects Nancy had asked me to complete before her trip: cleaning the garage, organizing storage areas, basic maintenance she wanted finished. Every single thing they're claiming has a completely innocent explanation. They're taking normal activities and twisting them into something sinister because they can't accept that sometimes people just die from cancer.
But Michael's explanations were falling apart under scrutiny. Why would he research body disposal methods if his wife was simply going for medical treatment? Why did he need industrial chemicals for basic household cleaning? And investigators discovered something even more damning. Michael had taken out a life insurance policy on Nancy just 3 months before her disappearance, doubling her coverage to $500,000. When the insurance company investigated his claim in 2017, they found the Florida death story suspicious and refused to pay out. Michael had hired a lawyer to fight the insurance company, never mentioning to anyone that he was trying to collect $500,000 on his supposedly deceased wife.
I live across the street from the Shermans, and what I saw that week in April 2017 has haunted me for years. On April 4th, around 11 p.m., I was up with my sick baby when I heard Nancy screaming from their house. Not arguing, but screaming in terror. Then everything went quiet. Around 3 a.m., I saw Michael loading large, heavy bags into his truck. He made 3 trips, and the bags looked like they weighed a lot. He was struggling to carry them. The next morning, there was a strong chemical smell coming from their property that lasted for days. When I asked Michael where Nancy was a week later, he told me she was in Florida, but something about his whole demeanor was off. He seemed relieved, not worried like a husband should be.
The final piece of evidence came from an unexpected source, the Sherman family's own home security system. Michael thought he had disabled all the cameras before killing Nancy, but he made one crucial mistake. There was a hidden camera Nancy had secretly installed in the children's playroom to watch them while she cooked dinner. Michael didn't know this camera existed. On April 4th, 2017, at exactly 7:23 p.m., that camera captured audio of Nancy screaming in terror, followed by a loud crash, the sound of something heavy hitting the floor, and then complete silence. Most damning of all, Michael's voice can be clearly heard saying, "It's over, Nancy. It's finally over. You should have just kept your mouth shut about leaving me."
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the defendant wants you to believe this is all a series of unfortunate coincidences. But let me present the real timeline of what happened. Michael Sherman spent months planning his wife's murder because she was threatening to leave him and take the children. He researched disposal methods, bought supplies, and increased her life insurance. On April 4th, 2017, he killed Nancy in their home. We have audio of her final screams. He disposed of her body using the chemicals and materials he had purchased, then created an elaborate lie about cancer treatment in Florida. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was cold, calculated, premeditated murder for financial gain.
On January 15, 2024, we arrested Michael Sherman at his workplace. When we confronted him with the audio evidence from his own security system, he initially tried to claim it was taken out of context, that Nancy had simply fallen and hurt herself and he was comforting her. But when we asked him to explain how a simple fall resulted in Nancy's permanent disappearance, his elaborate Florida cover story, and his suspicious purchases and internet searches, he immediately stopped talking and demanded his lawyer. Michael Sherman was formally charged with first-degree murder, tampering with evidence, insurance fraud, and filing multiple false police reports. After nearly 7 years, Nancy Sherman was finally getting justice.
My client is innocent of these charges. The prosecution wants you to convict based on circumstantial evidence and speculation. Yes, Michael searched for information online, but grieving people often research worst-case scenarios when their loved ones are sick. Yes, he bought cleaning supplies, but homeowners regularly purchase these items. The audio recording is unclear and could be interpreted many ways. It doesn't prove murder. Most importantly, where is Nancy's body? Without a body, without physical evidence of a crime, how can you convict a man of murder? The prosecution has created a narrative around normal activities because they can't prove their case. Michael Sherman is a grieving widower, not a killer, and the state has failed to prove otherwise beyond reasonable doubt.
Michael Sherman's trial lasted 3 weeks in March 2024. The jury heard the chilling audio recording of Nancy's final moments. They reviewed his suspicious internet searches and purchases. They listened to neighbors describe his strange behavior and the disposal of heavy bags in the middle of the night. The prosecution presented a timeline that showed months of planning followed by murder and an elaborate cover-up. After deliberating for only 8 hours, the jury returned their unanimous verdict, guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced Michael Sherman to life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus additional time for the fraud and evidence tampering charges. Finally, after 7 long years, justice was served.
For 7 years, I knew my sister didn't die of cancer in Florida. I knew Michael was lying, but I felt helpless to prove it. Nancy was planning to leave him. She had told me she was scared of what he might do. She had started gathering documents, saving money, making plans to take the children and start over somewhere safe. Michael couldn't let that happen, couldn't let her leave with his children and half his assets. So he killed her. While I'm devastated that Nancy's body was never found and we can't give her a proper burial, I'm grateful that Michael will spend the rest of his life in prison. He can never hurt another woman, and Nancy's children finally know the truth about what happened to their mother.
The Nancy Sherman case demonstrates that no murder goes unpunished forever. Michael Sherman thought he had committed the perfect crime. No body, an elaborate alibi, and enough time for evidence to disappear. But he underestimated the determination of Nancy's family and the persistence of law enforcement. Technology that didn't exist in 2017 helped recover his deleted files. Witnesses who were initially afraid to speak found the courage to come forward years later. And Michael's own security system captured the evidence that convicted him. Nancy Sherman's voice crying out in her final moments ultimately ensured her killer faced justice. Sometimes justice is delayed, but it will never be denied. Nancy Sherman was just 37 years old when her life was cut short by the man who had promised to love and protect her. Her 5 children have grown up without their mother because of one man's selfish decision to choose murder over divorce. But Nancy's legacy lives on in the courage of her sister, who never stopped fighting for the truth, in the neighbors who finally found their voices, and in the investigators who refused to let this case go cold. In the judgment room, we honor Nancy's memory and send a clear message. Domestic violence will not be tolerated, and those who think they can get away with murder will face the full force of justice.